I'll meet you there, and then we'll hope that the guy comes in. And then we'll figure out what to do. Yeah.
Markus, are you going to use your one there or freely?
Freely.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to speak quite close to it, because some people have had some issues about hearing you. Okay, very good. Yeah, that's for you. Yeah. So if you can keep it around half an hour.
Okay.
So then we have 10 minutes to discuss. I'll try to show you some signs. Show you 10 minutes or something.
Maybe I will have to
cut it
end at some point. But it's
okay.
But give me
because I think it's people will have a lot of questions, so it's nice to also leave some room for discussions. It's better not to rush. It's better maybe to cut it. It's up to you how you want it. Have you prepared like a 40 minutes?
It's like a 40 minutes lecture, but I will hurry up
in
the
some
beginning.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Then I will show one or two projects.
Okay, sounds good. And I can show you a little bit of how much there is time left. So I can show you. Okay, you have it. Okay. All right, ready to continue? So our afternoon is continuing with speaker from Berlin again, Kaden+Lager from Kaden+Lager. And Markus will show his insights and tell his insights about housing and focusing only in wooden buildings. So it will be super interesting.
Yes,
go ahead.
Thank you very much for the invitation. As far as I can see, we have a very interesting competition. And I am very interested about the designs you all will make. My name is Kaden+Lager. I am leading the office Kaden+Lager together with my partner Tom Kaden. And I will show you why we work only with timber or with hybrid timber constructions. And I will show you some projects, of course, we did or we are doing at the moment. Does it work? Maybe I have to do this. Okay, every project you see here is done in timber or in hybrid construction because we use materials there where they make sense. So we mostly need to use concrete too. We focus our office on two columns, we can say. On the one hand, we are doing design in dwelling houses. So we nearly only did housing so far. Nowadays we do schools and gyms and offices also. But we come from housing projects. And on the other hand, of course, I already said we concentrate very much on timber construction. One of the goals of our office is to bring back the timber construction into the inner cities of Europe, because in the Middle Age, the timber construction was forced out there because of the big fires and so on. It was the right decision in former times, I guess, but nowadays we are able to produce very safe constructions. So everything you see here is done in timber. For the context of our work, my previous speaker, Cristoph, already got that issue. Here's Profit, one of the biggest private German housing company did with their flats. They own 163,000 flats, and they made a profit of 1.8 billion euros in 2017, and that makes a profit per flat from 11,000 euros, which is unbelievable, I guess. And that's part of the problem Cristoph already told you about. I guess I don't have to repeat it. And here are some numbers about the traffic pollution we have. The numbers are from Germany. So a usual car drives about 14,000 kilometers a year. I don't know about the number compared to here in Finland. And combined gasoline and diesel, this is a number of nearly 2,800 kilograms per year. And at the moment we are building the first high-rise building in Germany, which includes 1,492 tons, cubic meters of wood, and that includes nearly the same amount of tons CO2. That means that one high-rise building like this includes the amount of traffic pollution of 490 cars in 1 year. So you can drive a car for nearly 500 years, or 500 cars can drive 1 year, and the pollution is included in the house. That's the number of the cars. So the client's role, my previous speakers both already told a lot about. It's shown in red because it's very important for us too, like for every architect. So here is a model of the usual investor. We visualized it this way because it's very important for us. So a professional investor gets on the set and realizes a project in a very professional way, and he sets the project together with architects and government and so on. And then the colored circles here, the citizens come to top. They buy this and refinance the investor. Absolutely normal. And that's the principle we have in Germany, getting more and more common. That's the principle of the Baugruppe, of the so-called co-housing groups. Then the colored circles, the citizens, are on the first step of the chain. So they have the same interest, like Christoph already explained. They form themselves as a group. It's a GbR, like a company in Germany. And they, as absolutely non-specialists, realize the project in the way they want to have it. And of course, there are happening some interesting aspects in there, some interesting ideas you, as an architect, would never have when you design for non-existing inhabitants. So, and after that, they own the house and use it on their own. And that's, again, we talked a lot about the cooperatives, and they are professional as well. But we visualized it that way, that they, in times of uses of using of the house, they finance by the rentals, they finance themselves. So they only have to take care for the building and for the don't know, for if something is happening with the rooftop or something and it has to be refreshed, then they have a little bit money out of the rental payment. That's an example for the development of prices for sites. It's from Munich here, so you can see the dark graph, which shows that the prices for the sites are getting very expensive in the last years since the crisis. I guess everybody knows. We are doing a lot of co-housing groups, or we did a lot of co-housing groups also. Now we have only two co-housing groups running currently. We had one big co-housing groups, including 48 parties, which is very much communication, and we more or less did a similar way Christoph explained with the clients who have impact on the design on their flats. Of course, they have their own wishes and needs, and one of the clients has 3 children, the others have 4 or only 1 or no children, and so on. That needs different floor plans, of course. And these are the comments of one of the clients in a floor plan. We had to bring it in and to correct the floor plans and so on. And you can imagine that it's kind of hard to handle this with the goal for a sustainable design in the end. Here's a comic we made last year that shows that the client on the left has a wish that the architect can, that he should make him a very easy house to live in. He doesn't need more. And the architect here, he tells him something out of the horse, we say in Germany. he says, yes, of course I can do that, but you need it further than simple. You need electric car sharing flat, you need an arty flat, an efficient flat, you need a BIM model for your flat, you need it smart, whatever, you need. And that's kind of our problem too, because we have to maximize the technical, or we are forced to maximize the technical installations in houses in many times, and it's not our goal we want to reach with our project. So timber and why we use it, of course, the first idea of using timber is absolutely clear. It's a very ecologic way to build, because the material does not have to be produced like sand or bricks or something. Sand does not have to be produced too, but the concrete has to be produced, and the bricks also, they have to be burned. And the timber grows in the forests, and you take it out and you prepare it in the sawmills for being part of a building, and then it goes on the circle of use. And after that, after the building is teared down, why ever, in 100, 200, 400 years, the timber could be recycled and take another way on the circle, or can even be burned and produce some energy. So this is mostly similar to the cradle-to-cradle principle. This is a graph that shows the amount of houses built in US. It's 80% on the right. In Scandinavia, it's 50%. In Austria, 35%. In Germany, we had 8% of the houses built in timber construction in 1991. And nowadays we have 15, 16%, and our goal is having 40%. Maybe we reach that, I don't know. This is a set of multi-story housing in Germany or Europe, or on the right-hand side, worldwide. And there are several projects more. I know that there here is in Finland a 12 or 14-story building plan, but I don't know if it's realized already. Maybe we can talk about this later.
Under construction.
Under construction, okay. Thank you very much. 14A. I've seen the plans, but I didn't know the exact status. Okay, here on the left-hand side is the first project our former office did. I came to the office after this was realized. The so-called E3 building was the first 7-story timber building all over Europe. And this is an up-following project, also 7 stories high. Then there came a 10-story building in London. Currently we're building the first high-rise building in Germany, which is 10 stories high, 34 meters, not 31. It increased a little bit. And this one is realized in Bergen in Norway. And the highest building at the moment is in Vancouver, a student living house with 53 meters. These are projects that are kind of in the pipeline at the moment. Not in our pipeline, I have to say, but they are discussed, and yeah, they kind of will be realized. We don't know at the moment exactly, but we guess that's the next level of high-rise buildings. And these pictures are a little bit more foggy, so don't know if they will be realized. These are big goals with 300 and 350 meters in London, but Tokyo. I guess it should be possible to do this, but we will see. So in the timber construction, we decide 3 parallel systems. On the left-hand side, we have the more and more common timber frame construction, which is kind of simple, and every carpenter, nearly every carpenter, can prefabricate this system in their own workshop. He does not need much machines for that. In the middle, there's shown the skeleton construction, which carries a lot of loads. If you build multi-story houses, this will be always one of your favorites. And on the right-hand side, in the last years, more and more common, the solid timber construction, where you build like a paper model with wall sheets somehow. It's very easy, and it simplifies architects' work a little bit, but of course you have to deal with the details also. I will show you examples for every system. Of course, we concentrate on the two systems on the right-hand side, but in most projects it's a combination of both. So I will show you some projects. I just heard I have half an hour of time, so I will hurry up a lot. E3 building, the first building in 7 stories all over Europe. And I have to say, in person, I don't have anything to do with the building. I was not invited in the planning also. I just came to the office after the building was realized. But I was so fascinated that I said, I want to work with these guys. This idea was so fascinating for me that I could not imagine to do anything else. Because the idea was, on the one hand, to design this wide volume in timber, and on the other hand, to kind of produce an external staircase, which creates a kind of in-between zone between the public space and the private flats, which is very nice, I guess. So every flat is entered by this little bridges. So you have a very intense entrance in your flat. And the other thing is that these terraces were the way to deal with the problem that the clients had different budgets. So if one client has only money for 120 square meters, he gets a big terrace. And if the client has money for 160 square meters, like on the higher levels, then there is no terrace. And the terraces are owned by they are shared by the co-housing group. So maybe I have to forget to say it is a co-housing group project as well. And I will click through the floor plans so that you can see that really every floor plan is different. It's not the big thing with 7 stories, but I will come to this later. And these are the details. Looks very simple. We have a skeleton structure, and we have a TCC ceiling. That means timber concrete connected ceiling slab. Here you can see the timber part of the ceiling, which carries the tension, and on top there is brought a concrete sheet. It's done in situ, which does the pressure things. Another co-housing group in Berlin. Oh, that's a part of the E3. I will click it quite fast because I'm running out of time. It contains 16 units. Again, every floor plan absolutely different, of course, and even the system of circulation is different throughout the project. It's a timber frame construction, so more easy, and it's only 4 stories high. That's what it looks like. And as you can see here, there is a concrete ceiling lying on timber walls. We did this several times, and it does work very good. It's of course a question of the price you want to, or you have to reach. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So again, every unit has its own terrace in private way, but we have public terraces too, of course, so that people can meet and talk together. And they have a common garden space also. So now I will show you some projects under construction. We have here a co-housing group on the right side above. It's in Hamburg. I will show you in detail. And here's a cooperative with nearly 90 flats. Here is the high-rise building. And there's our biggest co-housing group under construction in Berlin at the moment. I will show you now. This is a Pistoriusplatz in Berlin-Weißensee. The co-housing group bought it in 2012 with only 5 people. And we designed an open block structure for 48 units at least. And after a few months, you can imagine that the group was filled up with the rest of the from the 5 units. That's what it will look like, or nearly looks like now. I will click through the whole floor plans again so that you can see that again here in the 48 unit project every floor plan is different, and that's the result of it. And it is very interesting somehow, but it is a lot of work, and you can hardly handle this because every client has his own issues with that and his own needs for communication, and you have to set some rules for this process. Of course we did, but that's what it ended up in. And that was one of the points we said we cannot go on with doing only co-housing groups, so we set the goal to build for the 6 public housing societies in Berlin too. These are the details of the Pistoriusplatz project. It's a combination of a skeleton structure and a timber frame structure. We can say that the timber frame structure includes the skeleton structure. Here is shown the concrete ceilings of the staircase, the outer wall of the, does not work really, the outer wall of the house, and then the TCC ceiling again in the inside, so that the wood is visible from the inside. And this is the same structure as we've seen before, but this is made out of beech. So we had to decrease its height from 12 to 6 centimeters, which decreases the construction height. We first set the circulation, the staircases, and the lifts, the elevators, and that's what it looks like from the inside. So you see here the wooden part of the TCC ceiling, the iron beams and the reinforcement and pipes and electricity cables going through. And you see, it's a little bit dark, but you see the wood from the inside of your flat. And yeah, the prefabrication level is quite high, but we did the concrete part in situ because we needed it to stiffen the building. So that's some pictures from the construction site. Here too, you have to detail this a lot because, as you can see here, this is a connection to the balcony. It's you have to work very precise with your workers. So the next project is the Urbaner Holzbau, the urban timber construction we did. It was a second project for a public housing society and their first project in timber. And they did a competition, and these three houses were set already. We optimized them a little bit in question of, I will show the next, there it's shown. We optimized it in their direction so that the flats are getting maximum of light and of view from the inside. And there are inner staircases. I will show you maybe here. There are inner staircases entering 4 or 3 flats per level. The 3 houses include 42 flats. And yeah, they will have a wooden facade, and they are kind of hybrid, as you can see in the section. It is a structure from prefabricated timber ceilings, and in this project only the outer walls are timber frame constructions, but on the other hand the prefabrication level in this project was very high. So as you can see here, it's a rendering, and here are pictures from the construction site. Of course this does not look like the rendering, of course, but if the ladders and so on will go off, then it will look absolutely ident with the rendering, because the facade was already prefabricated too. This causes some problems, of course, because we have some lines here made because the carpenters wanted to prefabricate the walls, so wall level by level, so they had to cut a little bit, but I guess we will deal with that. Then we have a project in Munich, which is the PE 16 West. It includes nearly 90 flats. It's a timber massive timber construction. The interesting aspect there is that the city of Munich supports the projects in this area by using timber. So every ton or every kilogram of timber you put inside your building and you need for construction is supported by the city, which is very nice for us, and even for the timber industry it's even more nice. But I guess it's a good way to set some points of using timber construction in the normal way and to bring it in the kind of broad mass for everybody, because that was one of our goals too. We want to make everybody able to live in a timber house, because we say that it does not have to be more expensive or more complicated. We want to establish the timber construction to be a normal way of construction. So this is a kind of Laubenganghaus. Now I will click through the Tor zur Welt project in Hamburg, in the Hafen City. It's a co-housing group also. There you can see the land. It's near to the now finished Elbphilharmonie. So, but they call it der soziale Block, the social block. We designed together with the clients. It was again participation, and again absolutely individual flats. But we learned a lot from the further project, and the structure here is a little bit more rigid, so that you can, as you can see when I click through the floor plans, they are not similar, they are not equal, but the structure is very, for a co-housing group, I guess it's kind of rigid compared to the other ones we did. The details also are very simple. It's an 8-story building made of solid timber, and the iron beam you see here is not to, it does not work like a beam that you have a column on the left and on the right, but this one makes sure that the pressure is not in the not rectangular to the timber faces in this point, because this would not be possible. So these are the connection to the walls to the staircase. Now we come to the, I guess it should be the last project I show you. It's the Stadtausstellung Neckarbogen, J1 and J6, the high-rise building in Germany. This is Heilbronn, the city with 120,000 inhabitants, and this is the main station of Heilbronn, and this is the inner city of Heilbronn, and this is the area where the Bundesgartenschau 2019 will be. And the idea of this Bundesgartenschau was to set up, to start a re-densification for the city. Here is the main station, and here was the so far empty space. And these 3 blocks here, they are part of a city re-densification after the Bundesgartenschau. The Bundesgartenschau area is this whole thing, and these 3 blocks will be built. They are built at the moment. They will be used, so people will live in this during the Bundesgartenschau. And the Bundesgartenschau will be there for 1 or 2 years, and after that, these blocks will be realized too. And we are happy to realize the kind of entrance to this Bundesgartenschau area for a public housing society of Heilbronn, which is interesting because the investor for the first high-rise building in Germany is a public housing society, as we have in Berlin too, the HOVOG or the Gesobau or WBM or how they are called. And what are we doing with the high-rise building, with the J1? We make a step in between the anonymous, not liked, maybe dysfunctional, kind of ugly high-rise buildings we know on the one hand side, and between the maximum expensive luxury high-rise buildings on the other side. So J1, that's what the name of the project is a very pragmatic way to build flats. It includes 60 apartments, and we are very happy to have kind of public space in the ground floor. That means that we have the first 2 levels merely for the public people of Heilbronn, or for the public, for the semi-public people who live in the house. There's a bakery inside on the left-hand side to the river, which is kind of here. And there's the main entrance, of course, and here is a room for only bikes, which we like a lot. I will show you in detail. This is the combination of uses. So this is in the ground floor, the cafe and the main entrance. And here are uses for the people who live inside. So here's the main entrance. Here's the public way. It goes under this this part of the building, which is above the public pedestrian way. And we have the main entrance here, the safety staircase done in prefabricated, in reinforced concrete, of course. And we have, after the main entrance, we have the so-called washing saloon, where I guess 15 machines for the whole house. So that's not common in Germany. In Germany, it is the usual way that you have your own machine in your flat. I guess in Switzerland, it's another way that you share your machine with the other people that live in your house. It's the same way like the Americans do, and so on. And we are very happy to have this installed in the ground floor of the high-rise building too. And we added some uses so that people can meet there and have a kind of meeting, celebrate their birthdays or whatever they want to do there. And they are connected to the garden, of course. So this is a part of a room which has qualities, architectural qualities, access to the garden and to the street. We are looking very forward to see this in use. And on the left-hand side, we are very happy to have this cycling, not cycling room, but cycling garage room that makes sure that the everyday use of this building makes kind of fun. So it's a very pragmatic thing that you can park your bicycle there in a very fast way compared to the system when you have to lock it somewhere outside or drive into a garage somewhere. And this is very dense to the entrance you have to use also. Yeah. And this is a garage. In this case, we have a garage shared with the other people that live in this whole block. So let me show. This whole part is a garage with a very complicated planning. It has kind of similarities to the co-housing group issues I was telling you before. These are the floor plans of the first level. There are some flats. And here you can see the floor plan of the 6th level. And there we did a nice thing. There we have this staircase in the middle. And this whole thing is one unit. There will live a Wohngemeinschaft, including 6 people. They share this terrace on the rooftop to the neighbor. And the flexibility in this point, we talked about this a little bit, or the previous speaker already told you about this. The flexibility in this point is that this 260 square meters unit is able to be separated at this and this point. So it could be, if it does not work, it could be a whole normal flat in future. So the clients, the public housing society, could make a kind of experiment with that. Most of the flats are kind of equal. They are apartments about 40 square meters. If you look on the bathrooms, you see that they are absolutely equal. That is because they are prefabricated as a room cell before entering site. And this is very nice because you have extended the producing of the bathroom in situ, which is very complicated. I guess everybody knows. This is a section. We will have a public rooftop terrace, and of course every flat in this house will be for rental. Some details: we have a absolutely dry construction. We have a CLT ceiling with dry sheets above, because the client wants us to follow the cradle-to-cradle principle, so that everything in the building is able to be separated and recycled. We have an iron beam here, as you can see, because of 8.6 meters span wide between the big columns on the street. So I'm running out of time, so that's why I'm ending here. I wanted to show you some designs we are working on, but I guess it's not possible anymore. I can show you the last picture maybe, because I wanted to say what about the goals of working with timber? And we more and more see that it's not about making kind of complicated or new details which are non-existing at the moment, and it's not only about speedy construction sites. It is a big advantage of timber construction, of course, but it's not the only thing. I guess it's more than that. It's more important what happens between the walls and in the buildings, and yeah, that's what I wanted to motivate you on for the competition you have to do here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Markus. I think we have time for a couple questions before the last speaker. Please raise your hand. Okay.
Hi, I'm Bonava. I don't know much about timber production, but I'm studying it. So I would like to learn about those. You said speedy construction and using prefabricated element. Could you estimate, if you take a typical production of one of your cases, how much time do you need for the construction if you compare it to typical old-fashioned way of doing things?
Yeah, for this project, the setting of in Germany we say Rohbau of the construction took 6 weeks. So in projects like this, you can say that one level takes 1 week to build. In this big co-housing block I showed you, they set one level for one house. It is including 10 houses, so they can not do. It depends on how much workers they have on site, but one house, one level was set in 3 days. They need 1 day to prepare things on the floor, then 1 day to set the walls, and 1 day to set the ceiling for a 140 square meters house. And the level of prefabrication is a very important goal you have to set at the beginning of a project. You have to talk, or you have to make a design which makes it possible. And as architect, you have to be, it's good to know what the consequences are. Because as I showed you in the Urbaner Holzbau, in this project, the detailing of the walls and of the facade was a little bit fragile somehow, because we had another imagination of the facade than the company who prefabricated that. But you have to be sure at the beginning of the projects. So you have to set the fact that it's a timber construction in the early phases of your design. That's important.
Okay, I'll continue. As an architect, you don't think it's limiting your freedom if you need to decide such details already in the early phase?
Yes, I cannot answer this exactly because I never did another house, but I can imagine that compared to brick builder architects, I'm not disliking this, but I have to call it like this. We have to plan kind of more like industrial products, because you have to plan nearly every screw at the timber at the high-rise timber building. We planned really every screw, which is, of course, it's a really lot of work, but yeah, it produces good results if you bring this to the companies to make an offer for that. Yes, I don't know about shrinking freedom in design. I guess it's not shrinking, but you have to work very precise in the beginning.
So, how do you see it? What kind of benefits there is for the tenant, the people living in the houses, if you use wood in the structure?
On the one hand side, it's for us all, it's a big goal, the ecological aspects, I already said. For the tenants, it's nice to see the timber from the inside. It feels warm. If you enter a timber building with clients or with people, then everybody starts touching it. So it's kind of interesting and it feels soft. I always talk about the soft skills of timber. It seems to be quite interesting for people, and it seems to produce a warm feeling somehow. I guess that's something that we should not forget. And other aspects are even economically, because if we build in the inner cities, we have sites where are that much square meters possible, and we are able to produce thinner walls, so we are able to produce more square meters on the same site. If we build a house with 50 flats, then it is possible to do the area of one flat more. It depends on the floor plans, of course, because maybe the flats are a little bit bigger, but the area is more, so we can produce more square meters on the same site. And the cities, the inner cities, where there's much traffic and much noise, are not disturbed so much. So we have the fast construction site because of the prefabrication. You have to know that the prefabrication time is, you have to plan this in your time schedules, because not the project is shorter, the construction site is shorter for the construction. But the streets are not so much disturbed, and even you have not so much noise in the cities and so on. It's an advantage too. So yeah, I guess that's mainly it. Maybe you have another question.
Final question for the
I thought
next
advantage.
If there is time. So what is this hype about tall timber buildings? I mean, like you showed these 350-meter high buildings. So is this like appropriate to the material? So up to which height would a timber construction would be really efficient, ecological, sustainable, without having this competition thing about height or something?
My opinion to this is we take part in this race too. We set the first 10 stories in Germany, and it's nice to do that, but I guess that's why I told you about the foggy pictures of the 350 meter skyscrapers. I guess the race for the problems we have in the inner cities will not be decided by skyscrapers, but it will be in Gebäudeklasse 4 or 5. In Germany we have kind of Gebäudeklassen, and Gebäudeklasse 4 or 5 means that we have 4 up to 8 stories, and I guess that's what the race will be decided by. So not the skyscrapers or high-rise buildings are nice to have and kind of important in really dense inner cities, and in some ideas maybe they are really the only way to deal with the sites and so on. But I guess the big mass of flats and of space we need to live in is not will not be realized in skyscrapers. So that's why we focus not only on building skyscrapers, of course.
Thank you very much, Markus. So we have heard since now about urban hybrids, about programs, how they affect buildings, and then about co-ops, and now about ecological materials of housing. And the last presentation will be lessons from Copenhagen about the public space maybe interacting with buildings and housing and how that will be. So we have Alexander Ejsing from Kobe Architects who's going to tell us a little bit about that. So please.
Thanks a lot.
This is better.
This one? Okay. Thanks a lot for the presentation, and thanks for the invitation also and the great show up. It's a pleasure to be here. As you said, now we've heard some very interesting thoughts and ideas from Zürich and Berlin. Now it's time to move a bit further up north, a bit closer to home, to my beloved home city of Copenhagen, where I, on a daily basis, work for Kobe Architects, an office that works in most scales of the architectural business, everything from our early years where we did big master planning competitions to the recent years where we've done everything from libraries to kindergartens, infrastructure, even furniture design. So a few years ago we decided at Kobe that it was time to take a step back. We had been active for a decade and done a lot of different stuff in a lot of different scales. So we thought it was time to look at ourselves from a perspective somehow, and therefore we decided to write a book. That's why it says Our Urban Living Room up here. It's the title of this book. And it is a book that is obviously about us, but it's just as much as our main context, the city of Copenhagen, where most of our efforts have been located. And Copenhagen is a city that has undergone a quite fantastic transformation just since the 80s, where the city was a very unattractive urban environment defined by poverty. A lot of people had moved out of the city to find fresh air and more space and greenery in the suburbs. The city itself was polluted. It was this kind of post-industrial environment where also many of the factories had moved away, leaving a city in decay. So from that, looking forward to today, where Copenhagen is this kind of world-famous capital for livability, for the way we use the city, for the way we move around in the city. So we thought that our book should be basically about this fantastic, almost fairy tale-like transformation, and how we as architects have been involved in this just in the past 10, 12 years. Yeah. So this is an image shot by a colleague of mine a few summers ago, a very concrete example of our concept, a floating urban living room through the Copenhagen canals. And it's just a good image of the vibe that there is in Copenhagen to this day. The title, Our Urban Living Room, is also a way of looking at our approach to everything we do, basically. It says here, we aim to create buildings and spaces that invite people to use and define them as extended living rooms where the boundaries between private and public space become fluid. So it's very important to us that no matter what we do, that the users that is eventually gonna use the house, the plaza, the public space, whatever it is, that they feel at home, that they feel that they understand what we have done, and that they can interact with it and treat it like it was their own, basically. And then the title is also this play on scale somehow, the small cozy living room and this big urban scale. And somehow, because we started out doing a lot of urban projects, we have kept that engagement to the other scales that we're working with. So a few examples of this. The image to the left is our library, where we continued the public street all the way through the building, so that the users of the neighborhood could also just use our building as a shortcut, basically a place to get a quick cup of coffee on the way to work, for instance. Or in the middle, up in the middle, our kindergarten, where we were supposed to build a very large kindergarten for 800 kids. We decided that an urban approach was more appropriate, so we designed it as a little village for kids instead. So it's become this kind of a entire neighborhood for the next generation in Copenhagen. The picture down in the middle is our volunteer house for Red Cross, where we integrated the entire roof as a big south-facing stair and urban space for the entire neighborhood. So just a few examples to describe how we work, basically. And then here, another good example of this play with scale, an item for, I guess, all of our own private living rooms, the bookshelf that we have turned into a big exhibition that we are so lucky to present here in Helsinki at the moment, at a venue called Laituri that I'm definitely pronouncing with an accent. But obviously you should all go and check it out. What's so interesting about all of our thoughts and all of our very specific contextual findings in Copenhagen is that how does all that look if you just place it in a very new setting like Helsinki, where you've had just as incredible and just as interesting transformation. Is there anything that you can learn from what we have experienced, or is there something that we can learn from you? It's a quite interesting exercise. So today I'm going to present for you 4 different of our coolest housing projects in Copenhagen. The first one is not as such a housing project. It's this very big master plan that you can see up in the far distance. It's called the North Harbour. It's the project that basically started our office 10, 12 years ago. We won an international competition of what was back then the biggest planning competition in Scandinavia. And that's been somehow the backbone of Kobe ever since. So even though it's not a housing project, it's very much a project that's about defining the best possible conditions for creating housing. And then zooming into this plan just next to it, the silo was this fantastic old grain storage silo that we were so lucky to be involved in transforming into housing. Then if we look closer into the center of the city, there's a sign called Krøyers Plads, which is this very significant gap that there was on the front of the Copenhagen harbor, in between all these historical old warehouses. And that's been a very, we turned it into 3 different housing units, and it's been a very interesting result for us, but just as much the entire process that taught us a lot about designing as a collective, basically. The last project is the Paper Island, kind of similar story to the North Harbour, an old industrial island with a really great location in the middle of the harbour that was for many years used for storing paper rolls before they would be redistributed into newspapers and magazines and stuff. That is today being transformed into a lot of public functions, but also housing. So just to give you a sense of this new transformation of Copenhagen, our blue spine that goes throughout the entire city with some new projects, the Harbour Bath by Bjarkingers Group down in the left. So I guess you all know Copenhagen for being famous for its biking. It's what we are really proud of. It's also the city that has to compensate somehow for not having any fantastic landmarks like Paris or New York. What we have is the Little Mermaid that always seems to disappoint all the Chinese tourists, as it's a bit smaller than a real scale person. So Copenhagen has somehow become famous for a lot of other things, for the way we, as you can see, the way our infrastructure has been focused around people instead of cars, for instance, or how we can swim in the water and how our welfare system works. So here just a few examples before I pick up the projects to show, again, some of these transformations in one-to-one. This was an old canal that was dug out for the trade ships to be able to reach the very center of the city, the King Square. It's called Nyhavn. And then in the 60s, which is the first image, all of that industry left and basically the car-driven city took over and just occupied a super great space by the water. And then today it's one of our biggest tourist attractions. And I'm sure if some of you have been in Copenhagen, you've probably had a beer in this area. Also our infrastructure, Strøget, our beloved pedestrian zone in the middle of the old town, which used to be a sort of highway going through the entire city with cars and different transportation. Another good example is Paper Island, and I'm going to come back to later, where all these old different storage uses died out and left these old halls without a function for many years. But then recently, street food vendors took over and created a fantastic new neighborhood in the city. So, the North Harbor. It's basically about designing Copenhagen of tomorrow, because it is so big that 40,000 people are going to live there, and another 40,000 people are supposed to work there. And as you can see in this diagram, Copenhagen, as many other urban areas, is dealing with a lot of added density. This image is this quite interesting overlay of times. The black spot is how the city looked like 500 years ago. The white stuff is today. So it really shows how Copenhagen has evolved in this weird step-by-step way, where different industries needed a new island for a specific purpose, and then we developed the city without any bigger sort of master plan intention, and that has created this quite charming, almost archipelago-like series of islands that define Copenhagen today. And then obviously looking at all these potential that we have inside the limits of the city in terms of re-densifying it. All the black spots that you see here are old previous industrial areas that for different reasons closed off or moved elsewhere. So it's clearly showing somehow how Copenhagen is this unfinished puzzle piece almost, where we almost need to regenerate or heal the city for it to be reconnected or to be able to use it in a modern way. And as you can see, the biggest one up north is our site, the North Harbor. Just a few images of how it used to look and how our competition vision plan used to look back then. And just some images of what the area used to be like. This is back in the trade times when big ships would come in with goods from around the distant corners of the world, and then we would either turn it into something else or simply redistribute it into the European market. Or another quite interesting image where the big ships were leaving for America, and it looks like the half of the city was there to say goodbye to them. This is how it looks like today. Copenhagen, we are keeping this idea of adding land to this part of the city. We're building a lot of new metros where we have a lot of excess soil. So we basically need places to put all this extra soil. So the extension of North Harbour is a way of gaining space for new inhabitants, as well as having a good place to get rid of all the soil. So our concept for the development that we want back then was somehow the idea that in the exact same way that Copenhagen has developed through hundreds of years, the North Harbour itself is so big that we need to have almost an identical approach. We can never say in 2018 how our architects, how our technologies, how people of the city want to live in 40, 50 years. But what we can do is to design the first part of this big master plan with our best intentions and the best technology that we know of today. So what we did instead was to create these very robust, almost dogma-like principles for what should control at least the future expansion for the coming years. One of them being, sorry, the text is a bit small, but one of them being this idea of creating these small islands of the big landfill that it used to be. That's the first one. So that, as I said, you can very quickly develop them and give them different identities and give them up and running instead of trying to activate the entire island in one go. Second one is about keeping as much as possible of the existing industrial relics and structures that there is to find there. That is really what has been a challenge in previous master planning projects in Copenhagen, that there's nothing that relates all the new housing to what was before and to where we come from and what the history of the city is. So it's really important as when you want to build new areas. Then obviously the third one is a green strategy. We propose these green bands throughout the entire master plan. So if you biked or was driving in the metro, you would continuously see different kinds of green and blue. Then the one with the circles is what we call the 5-minute city, which means we develop the metro line in a way that all islands and all neighborhoods will have a maximum of 5 minutes to public transportation by foot. Then obviously the next one, the city on the water. In the beginning we called this a Scandinavian Venice, which was very popular with real estate people and so on. But the idea was basically that almost all housing in this master plan would have a really close relation to water because of these many new canals that we would dig. The last one about the wind. It's a really windy area, so we created something we called the intelligent grid, which is a way of compositioning buildings so that you don't have wind tunnels. Here you have a status somehow of the beginning of the development that we've been involved in terms of local planning, but also designing all public spaces and some of the buildings. You can see some of the canals that have to be dug out in the years to come. And then for the first island that we designed, we wanted to create a strong identity for it, and because it already had this series of small-scale red industrial buildings, we wanted to build on that. So we designed it as a red city. So all new housing should somehow relate to those industrial color palettes and materiality references. So as you can see in the bottom, it's this low base of red buildings, but then there was also these bigger anchor points, these very large silos in the area that we definitely wanted to keep. And then they could have this kind of more expressive feel to them as markers or something that you could see from a distance that would also mark the neighborhood. Here you see how the area looks today and how significant all these existing elements seem. Sometimes we leave them to the left, sometimes we build on top of them in the back, but also how the new buildings have somehow tried to, with these weathered bricks, to understand the context. Then obviously it's a city designed for biking and public transportation more than for car infrastructure. A city on the water, the different images of how people have started to use our canals this summer. Then the greenery, this is a project by our colleagues from Yaya Architects. Quite fantastic project, which is a parking structure where they added a green playground and fitness roof too. That's been a really big attraction in the city, a place where kindergartens would go on tours or people would do workouts and stuff. And also a green edge zone and our promenades to the water. Here you see a status of the first island, the Aarhusgade neighborhood. Then we come to the silo, which is a very dear project of ours, a project that we're really proud of. It's also a very wild project somehow. So it's going to be the most wild project that I'm going to show you today, definitely. It's one of these old grain silos in this area that I just described. It's the big one that you see here to the left. This is this kind of X-ray image of how the construction looks, and it's just remarkable somehow that a building done without any considerations for design or look, just designed for a very simple and a very simple purpose can somehow look extremely beautiful and have the most amazing interior qualities. Then there's this kind of big challenge of turning a structure like this into a comfortable living environment for people to live in. And obviously we as architects would probably prefer just to keep it exactly the way it was, but it's not possible. You need to either insulate on the inside or the outside. The developer wanted definitely to do it on the outside so we wouldn't lose square meters. But luckily we actually agreed with him because we wanted really to enhance this feeling when you were inside the apartments that you are in a very old industrial structure. That was the most important to preserve somehow. Then we also knew that if we did this project, if we dug out all those holes in this thick facade and if we worked with this transformation, it was going to be very expensive apartments. So we were a bit afraid of that development, so we thought we need to give something back to the area around it. One way we did it was to add this public ground floor. That and when we built it, we basically built this first, and then that acted as this kind of neighborhood exhibition where you could go and see the development of the entire neighborhood of the North Harbor. It was a really nice. Like if you went to that area, you would go there to get information somehow. Then another addition we thought of was this extra volume on the top, which we turned into a 360 degrees viewing platform and a public restaurant. So somehow the idea that we do a very complex and very expensive transformation, but it also gives back a lot of value to the city and the neighborhood. This is the building, how it looks. This is our new facade. For this facade, we wanted to make something that looked very abstract and basically something that looked as little as possible as normal housing in a way, to keep this very monolithic and the scale of it, the house itself. So it's this idea that one sort of expression solves it all. It insulates, it creates balconies, it creates windows, and in a way it just looks like one unified skin. That was the intention. And then we built it, and it finished last year, and looks like this. Here you have some before and after images where you can also just see the rapid transformation of the entire area from a worn-down industrial place. Like when we found it back in 2010, animals were living in this building, like birds and rats, and it was this place where graffiti artists would illegally climb up in different places and do art all over the place. And then obviously when you need to build on top of a house that's not really thought of as in terms of precision or aesthetics, like the entire facade behind these modules was completely bended, and nothing was straight basically. So for these guys to get these modules up and keep a straight shadow gap between all of them, and for it to look really, really sharp was an enormous task. But they seem to get it right this time. These are some shots of the interior without before we touched anything, not even the floors. So as you can see, it's extremely rough. This is an image of the first hole that we knocked out of one of the top spaces, where you could see this amazing view all the way to Sweden on the other side of the water. It's also sort of like we're not used to tall buildings in Copenhagen. It's just not something that we do, so it's quite exotic for us to be able to do something like this. Here you have the restaurant and the viewing platform on top. This is my colleague Stine in the ground floor gallery just before it opened. And here up in one of the bigger apartments. A nice detail here also is, because we wanted to make it extremely rough on the inside, we put all of the window frames on the outside so you don't notice them inside. You only see this big cut, and it's kept as rough as possible. Here one of the most spacious apartments in the top of the silo, which was named the cathedral by the client. Here you are on one of the balconies. The next project, Krøyers Plads, it's this very interesting project as well as process for us at Cope. I've made the subtitle, "What if architecture was designed in a collective effort?" It was a project that cost us a lot of thoughts and a lot of investigations into how we could do something where all parties were involved in the building, because if not, it was never going to happen with this one. So it's just funny to think of how our role with this project changed so much from people's normal perspective of architects as these very introvert, brilliant, creative minds that are hard to understand. We almost felt like we had to be the opposite, some kind of a collective team leader in a way. And this is what it's about. It's a plot in the city marked with black in the middle of the image called Krøyers Plads. And because this site is so significant, there's really few of these empty plots in the center of Copenhagen. It somehow became a kind of epicenter for the discussion of the entire future planning of the city. Should we invite international architects to do grand design? Should we do towers, or is it okay to add new types of materials? All these questions became somehow a part of the discussion of Krøyers Plads. And just some insight to why that is. This first image is from 1720, when Copenhagen was this trade center in the entire European region. Back then we called our city the city surrounded by embankments where only the roofscape is visible and the towers provide greatness and splendor. And then the funny thing is that the next image almost looked like the same one, just in colors. But actually 300 years have passed. So it just goes to show how little Copenhagen's profile changes somehow, and how conservative we are about this profile and how proud we are of it. And that is why for up to 10 years, a lot of projects were stranded, rejected, thrown away when it came to Krøyersplads. Our best architects, international architects, all have different proposals. Some of them, as you can see, the tower more insane than others, but so many ideas were stranded for different reasons. So when we eventually were put into the picture, we felt almost like this kind of a problem solver more than an architect. So what do you do as an architect when every attempt before you has failed? This dialogue as a design parameter, and what that means was that the first thing we did was to collect all involved stakeholders to this project. The city architect. We have these quite powerful local organizations that represent all the neighborhoods of the city to the politicians. Those we got into the design group, as well as local users. And then we basically started asking them a lot of questions and designing together with them to a large extent. Here you can see an image of the result. That was this kind of project that took the context very literal and somehow reused the language and the materials and the scale of the existing warehouses to the new project. Here you see it from the other side of the harbor house. This row of gables. So, in a way, the concept for this project became about not designing an entire new system or a new building typology, but instead reinvent what we already had, these quite significant, quite Copenhagen-styled warehouses. So there's a lot of things that were important to people in this task force. One of them was that we had to make an exact continuation of the existing warehouses, which we literally did. Then there was the idea of keeping the line, the harbor line, the exact same as before, and activating this as a part of the other of the buildings next to. Then it was important also for the local community that this was not going to be this kind of closed housing projects. So we again played with the ground floor of the building and turned it into a very public ground floor with a lot of restaurants and cafes and shops. This image is from a wedding reception in the restaurant that is in here to the left in the image. Then there was how the heights of all these buildings had to match exactly the gables, the cornices of the neighboring houses, which we worked with quite a lot. And down to the very materiality of the building. What you see to the left is a collage of the textures of the area. You could say all these different tones of weathered, of patinated yellow and red bricks, and how we found a brick that almost represented all of these buildings in one facade. Around the houses, we created this lush landscape inspired by, again, the industrial history of this place. You can almost imagine how the greenery is creeping up through these tiles as it would look in a post-industrial landscape. Between some of the buildings, we added these connecting connecting tunnels that we developed as these installation like mirror pathways, and then we bent the profiles of these this steel roof, this mirrored steel roof, so that it would appear as this inverted water mirror. Last but not least, a few shots from inside these apartments, where you also understand the shape of the roof. And you have this quite remarkable view of the old city profile. My last project, Paper Island, was it's basically the neighbor to Krøyersplads you see up in the top of the image. The Paper Island was a project that was a very interesting process also in a way, because after having been closed off for many years, these old halls were turned into this very successful street food environment. Some of the other halls were rented out to creative offices, among them ourselves. We lived there for 5 years until we recently moved. This is how the area used to live when it was closed off and when all the doors were locked. Back then this was quite a remarkable plot in the city that basically no one knew about, just next to our opera. Then in 1 or 2 years it turned out to be this new district of the city, a recreative place where people went to eat and drink beers in the sun on a Friday afternoon. This is from inside the old halls, where they basically put in a lot of street food wagons, and that was it. This is our office when we took it over 5-6 years ago, and what we turned it into eventually. So the reason for this project being quite interesting in terms of approach and in terms of process is that what do you actually do as an architect when what you come after was extremely successful? It was really a hot potato that they even had to tear this project down. The thing is that the developer that bought this island had really good intention. He knew that he had to wait a few years to be able to develop this place because of some laws from its previous usage. So then he thought he would use it for something super interesting and something temporary that the city could use. But obviously he had no idea of the scale and the success that he would eventually create, so that when he closed it off, he was a really unpopular person in the city of Copenhagen. So our approach to this assignment was to say, we need to keep this fantastic ground floor, somehow the identity that there was before, just in a new way. The buildings themselves were so worn down that they were impossible to keep, which was a shame. That's what we wanted to do. But instead we created these new open halls, like imagine a completely open ground floor with a lot of different programs where people could just float in and out, and then we would build the entire neighborhood on top of that ground floor. As well as Krøyersplads, we decided to be inspired highly by the pitched roofs of the context, the materiality of the context also. So even though this project is very large, it hopefully looks like it tries to fit in also. This is a shot from our new street food market. We tried to keep this space as rough as possible, and this image was very important for the process of this project, to show politicians, to show the public how what has been would then also be introduced in the future. Another function that would be introduced was a swimming hall. We could also imagine some of these flexible spaces being taken over by art exhibitions, or for instance here the Copenhagen Fashion Week. This is a view from above, and a cut through the ground floor where you see this very open plan. Then we decided that the relationship to the water should be a blue relationship rather than a green one. It's a really windy condition here in Copenhagen's harbor, so this had to be about the water, and then we turned the inside of the courtyard into this protected environment, this almost like a microclimate, this pocket of green down in the bottom of the center of all these halls. And if I go back to the plan, you can see how we basically call it the green hall, because we imagined it as a part of all the activities that would unfold inside these different spaces. This is a section that shows how the ground floor works, but on top of that we created a private garden for the many people who would have to live here. That would also be this very lush, hopefully, environment where you can then look down on the activities in the ground floor below. Kiitos.
Thank you, Alexander.
How long time did it take?
It's pretty good. So now, time for some questions from the audience. Oh, yes. There.
Thank you for a great presentation. I'd like to ask about how you choose the material. You choose it in the actually concrete block building. I forgot the project name. Silo or something.
Sorry?
Renovation project in the concrete.
Silo project.
The silo, yes, sorry.
Silo project. I thought that the double height or something interior, and I think it's very problem for the installation problem. Like summer installation is probably so cold, because I think concrete is very not good for the summer installation. Is there any why you choose the concrete for the interior, or something like the background concepts for that?
It was a bit hard to
Basically,
hear.
the question was, why did you choose to have concrete in the silo building?
Yeah. We thought basically that if we should convince anyone to spend a lot of money living in an old silo building, they would probably also feel that they were living in an old silo building. That was our hope. So it was basically to keep that connection as much as possible. And then for the outside, we used these galvanized steel profiles that even though they are very different, they also have this very roughness to them. They have this texturized surface that shine when it's sunshine and are more desaturated when it's gray. So that was somehow the idea that we needed to keep the concrete on the inside. And also it was this financial aspect that if you put on the insulation on the inside of the walls, you get less square meters, and that means less money for the developer. That was obviously also an important aspect.
Thank you. You have shown us presentation of macro and micro scales in Copenhagen, mostly macro, and I was sort of curious if you could more elaborate about the debate publicly, professionally, socially, of how Copenhagen gave one office to do so much in historical capital city of so many projects and so big areas. Because I assume that there have been such kind of debates of how much. I mean, there is pluses and there is minuses, like everything.
About us doing so much?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's,
I'm probably
it's
the right
some kind of
person to
moral
ask about
debate.
this. Like obviously, we think that we are so good that we should do as much as possible in Copenhagen. But we have also been discussing that quite a lot, actually, in terms of our future strategy. If at some point they just think they've gotten enough now, we need to kick them out. We need to try someone new. So that's definitely also something, a consideration for our future. Like, should we expand and look more into other markets, or how much are we working with public clients and how much are we working with private clients? So it's something that we discuss quite a lot in terms of planning for the future. But no, I do not think it's a problem that we've done a lot.
But maybe worth mentioning that, wasn't it that all of these were competitions that you won?
Yeah, that's true.
So it wasn't just that the city selected you guys.
It's
the
these secret competitions, and then they select one project and it says, it's cool, but oh no, not again.
I know that because it's worth mentioning that you didn't win the last competition of the Harbour Bath.
Yeah, that I didn't bring along.
Yeah. So Kengo Kuma won that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that was a harsh moment.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Yes. So maybe one final question for Alexander, if there is, or if there's also a question for some of the previous speakers. We're about to wrap up here now. So if there's anything that after this long day is still troubling you, or you want to tease these guys a bit more, just now it's the time. All right, it seems like you guys have been fully served. So that's a nice thing. So thank you for this part, for all of the speakers. It's been, I think, an extremely good start for the competition, as the whole idea of the competition is to sort of rethink the way that we live on this crowded and almost boiling planet. So it's really time for rethinking now what are the concepts, but also how is it possible to make them and get them done, and what's the role of the private, and what's the role of the public, and how to make things happen through different kind of collaborations. So hopefully you have got now a lot of inspiration of this discussion, and there will be now, the next part will be in Finnish, so we will liberate our international speakers to their duties. But also, but before you guys run, I promised that I'm going to mention that there is this City Life in Jätkäsaari seminar that starts right away after this in the Jätkäsaari pavilion, so you're all welcome to that as well. But thank you for this. And now, Kirsi from the city of Helsinki. In Finnish. Okay. Alexander, I think you need to go.
No niin, hyvää iltapäivää kaikille. Nyt täytyy taas totutella tähän suomen kieleen, mutta vähän rauhoittuu, vieraat pääsi lähtemään. Niin olen tosiaan Kirsi Rantama, arkkitehti Helsingin kaupungin asemakaavoituksesta. Ja esittelen tässä näiden todella hienojen ja ajatuksia herätelleiden. Uskon, että näin todellakin kävi, että nämä toimivat hyvinä tiisareinä tähän kilpailuun nämä esitykset, niin näiden siivittäminä päästään tähän kilpailuohjelmaan. Mä en aio käydä tässä mitenkään kokonaan tätä kilpailuohjelmaa läpi, vaan lähinnä niin kuin keskityn 2 kilpailukategoriaan, niiden esittelyyn. Ja tämän esityksen jälkeen voitte esittää kysymyksiä. Nämä kysymykset nauhoitetaan, ja jos me ei pystytä vastaamaan nyt, niin vastataan 2 viikon sisällä näihin kysymyksiin. Kuitenkin lyhyesti ensin haluan esitellä tämän kilpailun järjestäjät ja palkintolautakunnan. Ja tosiaan tämä kilpailuhan on luonteeltaan avoin arkkitehtuuri- ja ideakilpailu. Järjestäjätahot on Helsingin kaupunki, Aalto-yliopisto, ympäristöministeriö ja Arkkitehtiliitto SAFA. Ja palkintolautakunta, suurin osa täällä paikalla. Eli meillä on kunnia saada palkintolautakunnan puheenjohtajaksi Anni Sinnemäki, apulaispormestari. Sitten meillä on palkintolautakunnassa toimialajohtaja Mikko Aho, myös täällä jossain yleisössä siellä. Ja asunto-ohjelmapäällikkö Mari Randel on myös paikalla tuolla. Ja sitten meillä on yksikön päällikkö Osmo Rasimus, ei ehkä ole paikalla. Ja arkkitehti Kirsi Rantama paikalla. Ja ympäristöministeriön edustajana toimii Markku Karjalainen, professori Tampereen teknisestä yliopistosta. Onko paikalla? Ei taida olla. Sitten Aalto-yliopistosta Pirjo Sanaksenaho, professori. On paikalla. On siellä, joo. Ja Suomen Arkkitehtiliiton nimeäminen arkkitehti Pia Ilonen. On jossain. Näin. Ulkona. Ja arkkitehti Teemu Hirvilammi. Siellä. Ja kilpailun sihteerinä toimii Aalto-akatemiasta Niina Heikonen. Ja kilpailuhan on tosiaan jo alkanut. Kilpailu julistettiin viime maanantaina ja ohjelman voi maksutta ladata netistä osoitteesta www.asuntoreformi2020.fi. Me ollaan rakennettu tämä kilpailuohjelma siten, että tämä alkaa 10 artikkelilla, jotka avaa eri näkökulmista tätä Helsingin asuntotilannetta. Näiden tarkoituksena on yhtä lailla kuin tämän seminaarinkin, niin toimia tämmöisenä innoittajina ja ajatuksia herättävinä teksteinä tähän kilpailutehtävään. Kilpailussa on 2 kategoriaa. Ensimmäinen kategoria on asumisen kehittämisideat ja toisena kategoriana nämä kohdekohtaiset suunnitelmat. Käydään lyhyesti läpi, mitä nämä kategoriat sisältää. Tämä asumisen kehittämisideat kategoria on tarkoitettu sellaiseksi niin kuin suppeammaksi ideoiden esittämismahdollisuudeksi. Eli haetaan uudistusideoita asumiseen tai asuntorakentamiseen. Tehtävänä on esittää uudenlaisia ratkaisuja kevyemmin kirjallisena tai kaaviomaisena esityksenä. Nämä ehdotukset voi olla esimerkiksi asuntopolitiikkaa, asumisen rahoittamista, hallintamuotoja. Aivan vapaasti voi valita tämän näkökulman, miten lähestyä tätä tässä kategoriassa. Ja tästä täytyy sanoa, että nämä ehdotukset voi olla teoreettisia tai konkreettisia, ja hyvä ongelman analyysi on ihan yhtä lailla hyvä ehdotus kuin jonkun ongelman ratkaisukin. Ja lyhimmillään tässä voi selviytyä yhdellä A3-esityksellä. No sitten kohdekohtaiset suunnitelmat kategoria. Meidän kilpailun kohteet sijaitsee Jätkäsaaressa, Merirastilassa ja Pohjois-Pasilassa. Kaikki ihan mielettömiä tontteja. Uskon, että ehdotuksia tulee kaikkiin näihin ja runsaasti. Ja kilpailija voi todellakin tehdä mille tontille tahansa ja vaikka kaikille tonteille. Ja tämän kilpailun tavoitteena on, että näiden tonttien jatkosuunnittelu ja toteutus tapahtuu kohteiden voittaneiden ehdotusten pohjalta. ensimmäisenä mennään Jätkäsaareen. Lyhyesti Jätkäsaari rakentuu kantakaupungin jatkeena. Se on valmistuttuaan noin vuonna 2030 yli 20 000 asukkaan ja 6 000 ihmisen työpaikan alue. Ja tällä hetkellä Jätkäsaaresta on rakennettu noin 1/3. Siellä asuu noin 8 000 asukasta. Ja tärkeä toimija Jätkäsaaressa on matkustajaterminaali, jonka kautta Länsi-Sataman terminaalin kautta kulkee Jätkäsaareen yli 7 miljoonaa matkustajaa vuodessa. Tuossa Kilpailun tuossa kartassa eroteltuna on toi Melkinlaiturin osa-alue, jonne kilpailukohde sijoittuu. Tässä vielä laajemmassa kaupunkirakenteessa ja havainnekuvassa, miltä se sitten aikanaan näyttääkään, kilpailutontti ja tuleva Melkinlaiturin osa-alue. Siinä lähellä matkustajaterminaalia Atlantinkadun varrella. Tänne aikanaan rakentuu keskuskorttelit, eli tärkeänä kiintopisteenä Jätkäsaaressa. Ja Melkinlaiturin osa-alue on suunniteltu merikylähenkiseksi tiiviiksi osa-alueeksi noin 2 000 asukkaalle. Tämän alueen keskiössä on Samoankujan kävelyreitti, jonka varrelle joka tavallaan sitoo nämä korttelirakenteen yhteen ja jonka varrelle sijoittuu palvelut, koulu, päiväkoti ja liiketilat. Samalla se on tietenkin yhdistävä jalankulun ja pyöräilyn reitti niin merelle kuin Jätkäsaaren keskuspuiston kautta kohti kantakaupunkia. Tämä kilpailukortteli on todellinen liikennehubi. Sen ympäri kiertää ratikan reitti, siis se kiertää sen ympäri, se ei mene sen sisään. Ja sen kilpailukorttelin sisään tulee sijoittaa pysäköintilaitos, asumista, liiketilaa, siihen tulee aluetta palveleva päivittäistavarakauppa ja asumisen määrä on noin 10 000 kerrosnelimetriä. Tässä kilpailussa toivotaan erityisesti tutkittavan Jätkäsaaren kohdalla tätä pysäköintilaitoksen monimuotoisuutta ja muuntojoustavuutta, eli toivotaan esityksiä, joissa pysäköintilaitokseen on sijoitettu muutakin toimintaa, asukkaita palvelevia yhteistiloja, etätyötiloja, coworking-tiloja, ja toivotaan ratkaisuja, joissa on tutkittu, että mitä jos käyttötarkoitus muuttuu tulevaisuudessa. Jätkäsaaressa Melkinlaiturilla kilpailuteemoja on työn ja asumisen yhdistäminen, asumisen arkea tukevat palvelut, tilojen ja hyödykkeiden yhteiskäyttöä tukevat ratkaisut, tilojen muunneltavuus ja joustavat rakenteet. Tästä voi sanoa, että asemakaavaehdotus on laadittu ja kaava on menossa eteenpäin vuodenvaihteen jälkeen. Tähän kilpailijat voivat tehdä kaavaehdotukseen kohtuullisia muutoksia. Palkintolautakunta sitten tulkitsee, mikä on kohtuullista. Tässä vielä havainnekuva asemakaavaehdotuksesta. Siinä Samoankuja läpi alueen ja siellä Jätkäsaaren Hyväntoimen puisto, johon se sitten yhdistyy. Seuraavana mennään Itä-Helsinkiin, eli Merirastilaan. Merirastila on sen vahvuuksina voi sanoa merellisyyden, maastomuodot, luonnonläheisyyden, mieletön tontti, josta voi avata näkymiä luontoon ja merelle. Merirastilassa on meneillään kaupunkiuudistus, jonka tavoitteena on täydennysrakentaa aluetta 4200 uudelle asukkaalle. Periaatteena täydennysrakentamisessa on katuun linjaan rajautuvat korttelit, jotka sitten avautuu ja korttelit avautuu sitten tuonne puistomaiseen ympäristöön. Uuden rakentamisen myötä alueelle tavoitellaan monipuolisempaa asuntotarjontaa ja uudenlaista asuntotypologiaa. Tämä kohteena oleva tontti sijoittuu Merirastilantien ja Isonkaanlahden puiston Merirastilantien varrelle Isonkaanlahden puiston reunalle. Kortteriin tulee suunnitella asumisen lisäksi rakenteellinen pysäköinti ja liiketilojen Merirastilantien varrelle. Korttelista on mahdollista avata näkymät puistoon ja merelle, niin kuin tuossa jo näkyy ilmakuvastakin. Ja kortteli voidaan suunnitella 9600 kerrosneliömetriä rakentamista. Tällä alueella asemakaavaa valmistellaan parhaillaan. Kilpailuteemoja Merirastilassa ovat asumisen luonnonläheisyys, alueelta puuttuvien talotyyppien kehittäminen, vaihtelevat asuntoratkaisut erilaisille perhekunnille. Tässä vielä näkymää tänne merelliseen Itä-Helsinkiin. Eli tontti sijoittuu tänne. Ja sitten vielä kolmas kohde Pohjois-Pasilassa, Postipuistossa. Postipuiston asemakaava-alue rakennetaan urbaaniksi kerrostaloalueeksi noin 6000 asukkaalle entiselle maanliikennekeskuksen alueelle. Ja tämä alue rajautuu keskuspuistoon. Eli keskuspuisto tässä laidalla. Postipuiston erityisyytenä ovat suuret umpikorttelit, jotka sulkevat sisäänsä vehreät sisäpihat. Täällä pysäköinti on pääsääntöisesti pysäköintilaitoksissa kortteleiden ulkopuolella, eli pihat voidaan todella suunnitella vihreinä. Tämän alueen selkärankana toimii Postiljoonin kadun boulevardi, joka johtaa etelään Ilmalan juna-asemalle ja Hakamäentielle. Tämän alueen itäpuolelle jää Ilmalan varikkoalue. Nämä rakennukset vaihtelee alueella 5-7 kerroksisina ja sen lisäksi siellä on sitten 2 korkeampaa maamerkkirakennusta. Nämä postipuistossa tontit on jaettu ja toteutussuunnittelu on täydessä vauhdissa. Rakentaminen alueella alkaa ensi vuonna. Tässä vielä Pasilan kaupunkirakenteessa. Eli Pasila rakentuu nauhamaisena kaupungin osana täältä Triplalta ja Pasilan asemalta kohti Postipuistoa. Ratapihakorttelit tässä rakenteilla. No, Postipuiston kaupunkirakenne syntyy 3 kortteleita halkovasta erityyppisestä akselista, jotka kohtaa täällä Rullakkotorilla. Rullakkotoriksi nimitellään aukiolla. Tänne Rullakkotorille suunnitellaan asukkaiden yhteistila, eli täällä asemakaavassa on määrätty, että puolet yhteistilasta tulee sijoittaa tähän yhteiseen yhteistilarakennukseen. Liiketilat sijoittuu tämän Postiljoonin boulevardin laidalle ja tämän Rullakkotorin varrelle. Täällä on kaavoittajia paikalla, jos mä sanon jotain, niin sit saa täydentää. No, tämä itse kilpailukortteli. Ollaan kuultu tosi hienoja esimerkkejä urbaanista puurakentamisesta. Tämä on just sitä. Sitä tänne halutaan. Tämä kortteli sijoittuu tämän tällaisen jalankulku- ja pyöräilyakselin Kustinpolun laidalle. Ja eteläpuolelle jää tämä Ilmalan varikkoalue. Korttelin koko on 11 900 kerrosneliömetriä. Tulee toteuttaa asemakaavan mukaan 5-kerroksisena. tässä vähän sama juttu kuin melkein-laiturissakin, että vaikka tässä on vahva asemakaava, niin asemakaavasta saa kohtuullisesti poiketa. Ja palkintolautakunta jälleen pohtii sitten, mitä tämä kohtuullisuus tarkoittaa. Pysäköinti on korttelin ulkopuolella. Korttelissa tulee ottaa huomioon ilmalla varikkoalueesta aiheutuva melu- ja valo-ongelma. Tai ei ongelma, vaan häiriö. Tämän korttelin, tämän kilpailukohteen teemoja on luonnollisestikin urbaanin puurakentamisen mahdollisuudet, hiilineutraali rakentaminen ja vaihtelevat asuntoratkaisut erilaisille perhekunnille. Tässä oli kohteet, tässä kilpailun aikataulu, eli tosiaan kilpailu on käynnissä. Nyt ollaan kilpailuseminaarissa. Kilpailu päättyy 14. joulukuuta ja ensi vuoden keväällä pyritään kilpailu ratkaisemaan. Kysymykset jätetään verkkosivulle www.asuntoreformi2020.fi siellä olevalle lomakkeelle ja 24.10. on kysymysten deadline. Ja tosiaan tänään yritetään vastata mahdollisiin kysymyksiin tai sitten palataan niihin viimeistään 2 viikon päästä ja vastataan siellä verkkosivuilla. Tuossa vielä ohjelman nettiosoite. Ei muuta kuin onnea ja menestystä. Onko kysymyksiä? Kaikki selvää. Hyvä. Kiitos. Niin, joo. Kiitos.
Alright, jollei ole enempää kysymyksiä, niin ei muuta kuin kiitos kaikille ja kilpailu onnea. Kiitos.